Thank you. So I just wanted to say at the outset that the last time I checked, when a buyer and seller negotiate for a price, that's capitalism. And I wanted to talk with all three of our distinguished witnesses today, because one of the things that strikes me that we are struggling with is, I think at various times in each one of your statements, you talked about your price reflecting the value of your product. And the thing is, human health and life is priceless. So if that's the metric here, you will always have an excuse for charging increasing prices for these life-saving drugs. And what we are trying to do here is figure out how you can continue the innovation that Senator Paul just so eloquently spoke about. I would suspect that every member up here has a family member whose life has been saved by innovative medications or greatly improved. But at the end of the day, we have to find a way to allow you all to innovate, but also to make sure that the market here and the system here works for the very people whose lives you are helping to save. So I want to start with a question to you, Mr. Davis. While families in New Hampshire and across the country struggle to afford these life-saving medications, pharmaceutical companies are doing everything that they can to keep their prices and their profits sky high. And I know you've all talked about that not being the case, but let's just look at one thing here. One way that companies do this is by filing dozens, even hundreds, of frivolous patents that lock in their exclusive right to sell their drug for decades. By playing games like this with the patent system, companies block low-cost alternatives like generics from coming to market. Mr. Davis, the list price for Merck's cancer medication, Keytruda, is, as we've talked about, $190,000 per year. Can you tell us how many patents have been filed on this medication?
I don't have the exact number, but I would focus you on probably the most important patents, which are the composition of matter patents. In addition to that, we have formulation and manufacturing patents. There is one suite of composition of matter patents that we have, and those are what allow us to continue to have exclusivity.
Well, I don't think it would surprise you to learn that I do know how many patents you currently have. It's 168. This is what this looks like, sheet after sheet after sheet. Patent office records show that not only do you have 168, but half of them relate to the process Merck uses to manufacture the drug, not the way that the drug is used to treat patients. Merck is using patent gimmicks and loopholes to delay other companies from selling lower-cost versions of this medication, all while raising the price of Keytruda in the U.S. year after year. So it would be good if Merck would just stop blocking patient access to low-cost medications by using the patent system in this way. It's clear that Merck and other pharmaceutical companies, you are not alone, won't stop abusing the patent system to keep their prices high. So it's clear we also need to take action on that, and that's something we can do. Senator Braun and I have a bill called the Medication Affordability and Patent Integrity Act, which would help break up these patent walls. And I would urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support that. Now, Mr. Duato, in your testimony, you mentioned that Johnson & Johnson provides financial assistance to uninsured patients in the United States. However, the barriers to access these programs are unreasonably high. For an expensive medication like your company's arthritis drug Stelara, what does a patient have to do to get assistance from the Johnson & Johnson program?
Thank you. We care deeply about patient access, and we put a lot of work in developing well and wide patient assistance programs. And we have mechanisms for patients to connect with us via a mechanism like a website called Janssen Care Path, in which patients can access patient assistance. We supported 1.1 million people with patient copay assistance last year.
Well, let me just talk a little bit about that. The initial application, which I have here, is 6 pages long, and it requires pages of additional documents for income verification. In the fine print, this document even requires the patient to consent to a credit report check and other financial disclosures. Mr. Duato, everyone on this dais wants you to charge a fair price for your company's medications. But if someone does need assistance paying for their medication, this process has to be streamlined and easily available to anyone who qualifies. So I would urge you to look personally at this application. When somebody is dealing with a serious illness, the last thing they need to do is read the fine print and decide that they have to disclose a credit report, the relevance of which kind of escapes me. Mr. Berner and Mr. Duato, we could also increase competition by making it easier for generic drugs to get approved. Mr. Berner, let's turn to the BMS stroke prevention drug Eliquis. The list price, as we've talked about, is $7,100 per year. How many generics of this drug could a patient in the United States get at the pharmacy today?
Senator, in the U.S., there are not yet generics available.
Right. There are 0 generic versions of Eliquis available to patients, even though the original patents on the medication began to sunset in 2019, because your company has sued to block 2 approved generics from the U.S. market until 2028 at the earliest. Isn't that right?
Senator, we have allowed for generic entry in 2028. That's correct.
Right. So we have 2 generics ready to go. Your original patent is well past expired, but you still are actively trying to prevent generics from coming to market. Mr. Duato, the list price of Johnson & Johnson's autoimmune arthritis medication Stelara is nearly $80,000 annually. Similar to Eliquis, there are currently 0 low-cost biosimilar versions of Stelara available to U.S. patients. There are 0 biosimilars for Stelara available in the United States today because Johnson & Johnson has also sued to delay the launch of a low-cost biosimilar drug. So we need, you have all talked about the need to have speed of access, and Mr. Chair, I'm wrapping right up. Speed of access, getting drugs to market, but then you are actively working to block the less expensive biosimilars and generics to come to market, and that's something we should address. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Romney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.